Welcome to Expat Hoops, the podcast where we interview the best of professional basketball players who have careers in pro basketball leagues outside of the U.S. I'm Tony Budney. That's Andy Hufferman. Today, we welcome Dino Gregory to the pod.
Dino is originally from Baltimore, Maryland, played in the Baltimore Catholic League for Mount St. Joe's, then for the University of Maryland before heading overseas to start his career as a pro. He had stops in Sweden, Germany, Poland, Hungary, and Romania. But with that, let's get to welcoming here to the pod. Dino, great to have you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
So let's get right into some of your pro career and how you got started in doing all of that. What we usually ask on the pod is how people transitioned from their college career into the pros. You played at a pretty prominent school. You played at UMD, and you played for Gary Williams. So when did you first start exploring that overseas route? When did you first start thinking, "Hey, I can do this as a professional"?
Right. I remember I had an exit meeting my sophomore year in school. I remember Coach Williams told me, Dino, you can make some money playing this game, and whether it be in America or overseas. That's my first time really seeing overseas as an option. And obviously, when you go throughout college, you play against guys who make it to the NBA. You see how good they are, how big they are, how strong they are. You kind of see maybe I don't know if I can make the NBA or not. And an overseas route could be the route for me. I know after my senior year, I played pretty decently. I got an agent and started looking at teams in Europe, and that's kind of where my journey began. I talked to a couple of guys that I went to high school with, a couple of former college guys I played with about their experience overseas. That's kind of got my feet wet with that and learned more about the quote unquote overseas game. So that's kind of how I got my foot wet and kind of my bearings around what was going on with the next level.
And in terms of getting your bearings, when you were looking through and going down that path, did you have a lot of assistance from people around you? I know you said there, hey, this is a way in which you can make money. You don't necessarily have to do it in the U.S., but did you have some extra guidance outside of that?
I mean, former teammates I had, like actually Will Thomas played at George Mason, Final Four guy. He played in Europe, still playing in Europe right now in the Euro League. He gave me some guidance about how to hire an agent. A couple of old teammates of mine had to, because I mean, once you finish your senior year of college, you really don't know what to do next. I remember that year you have a whole bunch of agents hit you on Facebook, message you asking, have meetings with you. And that's how I wasn't doing that. I had my dad doing that stuff for me because I was trying to focus on the season. So you don't really know kind of the next step. You don't really learn that. And your college coaches, they really don't know. They know, but they don't know, I guess, the ins and outs of everyday life in Europe. So I really leaned on former teammates of mine who played in Europe, who was playing Europe at the time, to kind of what was next, what to look for in teams, what I wanted to look for in my situation, what do I need, and that sort of thing. So they helped. I really leaned on past teammates, for that type of guidance.
And about what point did you sign an agent?
I signed an agent, I want to say in April of my senior year. A little bit after, probably like 3 or 4 weeks after the season ended, I signed with an agent then. So I think I had 3 or 4 agents that contacted me, and my dad sat with them. And then we figured out which one worked for me the best. And then we picked one and signed with that person. And they went to work while I worked out at home until they called me up with different deals.
So your first deal actually wound up being in Sweden. If you could actually kind of take us through a little bit of what the deals were that you had to kind of go over at that point in time and why you wound up with that particular club, which actually, as we were talking off the pod, talked to somebody recently who played for the very same Sundsvall Dragons. So 2011, 2012 season. Take us through exactly what you were wading through in terms of offers, but also how you wound up in Sweden.
Yeah, I'm kind of crazy. It's so long ago now. I used to say 2011, 2012. That's like over 10 years ago, which is like crazy. But so from what I remember, I think that summer I had an offer from like a Pro B team in Germany, a Pro B team in Japan, and then Sundsvall was last of, it was like early, I think late June, when they offered me that third contract. And with my agent, we talked about, we can either wait for the next contract to come through or sign with this team. And my connection with the Sundsvall Dragons at the time was the head coach was the Icelandic national team coach, who coached one of my teammates from Maryland, Hawkor Paulson. And that's how he knew of me, was through Hawk. And he saw me play when you watch Hawk play on TV. That's how he started trying to talk to my agent about me possibly playing with that team. And my whole thing was, at least for me and my agent, what we wanted to do was me to play at the top league, wherever country I go to. So I went to Germany. I would have played second league. I think Japan would have been the second league as well. And Sweden was the only top league team that kind of was looking at me at that time period. So we didn't want to go to a place where I can get kind of labeled as a second league type player. We wanted me to be firstly wherever I go, and kind of go from there. So Sweden made the most sense back then. It was a good place to get my feet wet. Most people spoke English at the time, which was great. I had, I think, 2 other Americans signed before me, and the team won, I want to say, 2 or 3 championships before I got there. So they're a winning team, which made sense. And now I came from a winning, programs in high school and college, and it'd be more of like a seamless transition for me to go from being a collegiate player to a professional player.
There's a couple of things to hit on right there. Number one, Tony, as we found out well early on into the pod, we can attest to, sometimes it's all who you know and the connections. There you go. You hit right at that with the Icelandic team coach. Had happened to be seeing some of your games through a player that he had. So there again, it's all about who you know, even in the basketball world sometimes.
Right.
But also, like you said, it was a really good club at that point in time. It's a little bit weird of a history. They're now defunct. I think it was like 2016 that they went defunct, but they were a very good club. That was one that, as I talked about it with Lewis Hinnant not too long ago, that they signed Scottie Pippen. Granted, it was only for 1 game, but this is a club that was pretty well known and pretty high level, as you said.
Yeah, they were. I mean, the Scottie thing, Scottie's all over, his jersey all over the city. People are still big Bulls fans and Sooners ball all the time. I see that all around the city. But yeah, they were a really good club, and we wanted me to be like, if I was going to go to a smaller country like Sweden, wanted me to be in a top club rather than a bottom feeder and just kind of get lost in the sauce.
So I actually do have a question for you. It did seem like it was a pretty good fit. Was there any sort of transition that was like a little bit of a growing pain for you? Obviously, being multiple time zones away from home, was it really that smooth of a transition, or did you have some things that you had to work through in that first season?
Yeah, definitely things I had to work through. It was way different. I mean, obviously, it's my first time really being away from home. Being a hometown kid in Maryland, I'm 40 minutes from the house. My family can see me whenever I wanted to see them. Being in Sweden, I felt more isolated. It was just me out there. There were times I think we went through a few Americans. So at times I was just the only American on the team by myself. We had, I think, 4 Icelandic guys on my team, the rest were Swedish guys. So it'd be like the Icelandic crew, the Swedish crew, and myself. So that part, you get kind of lonely, kind of figure things out. It's your first year in Europe. You're not really sure. The playing style is different. It's just a little bit slower, not as fast paced in some regards. Some regards is more physical. So just trying to get used to that. But my coach was really, really good at the time. He really helped me develop. I feel like that year it helped me to kind of learn the game. And I remember on bus rides back from games, I have to watch video with him every single game, which was annoying. But looking back on it, really helped me out a lot. So definitely growing pains, but it was a great spot to start at to get my career going.
And so after you got your career going, you made your way over to Germany to play for Phoenix Hagen. At the time, they were in the Bundesliga, but have now been relegated down to Pro A. Tell us what your first time around in Germany was and how it compared with your league that you played in Sweden.
It was night and day. Now when I got to Germany and we started playing the Bundesliga, that's what I imagined as professional being. It was, sold out gyms. It was like it was just more professional. It just felt like more real. I played against guys I played against in college, guys I seen play in college. I don't think we played against what's his name? Elamine from Connecticut. I remember playing him one day, just like guys I grew up watching. I'm playing some now. And I felt like, okay, this is the real level. Games were intense, they were tight. My teammates were really good. My German teammates were pretty good as well. It was just a different vibe. I felt more of a professional during my German years. But when I first got there, it was just a different feel for sure.
And what level of success would you say you had in Germany in those 2 years?
Really high. So I made all defense team my first year. I think I made all rookie team that year as well. I led the league in blocks. My team made a playoffs for the first time in our team history. So for me, it was very successful. And then not knowing what was going on, I was just out there just playing every week, in a new country, new place, new system, all that stuff, and just figuring out as I go. And then I think what I liked about Germany is so much very helpful. In Germany, you can have 6 Americans. So it's just so many more of us to hang out with all the time. I was by myself like I was in Sweden. So that made it less homesicky. And then just like where we at in Germany, we can go to Amsterdam, we can go to Brussels, we can go to Paris. They're really close by. So the way of life off the court was great. So yeah, those years in Germany were fantastic. Fantastic.
I think kind of to that point, one of the things I saw in your Instagram feed was kind of some of the fan support that you got while over there. If you could kind of talk a little bit, I mean, you spent 2 seasons there, and we're about to get into a season where you actually split time, where you started in Poland, and you wind up going back there. Like you said, it's a high-level league. In terms of what the fan environment was like, and in terms of the support that you received there, if you could kind of take us through that a little bit too.
Yeah, that was cool. It reminded me of college, honestly. Like, so obviously soccer's king out there, and that's just what it is. But yeah, those fans out there were diehards. I mean, they're wearing your jerseys in the town. You know, they're seeing you in the street, want to take pictures with you. They're giving you gifts. I mean, it was fun. It was. I mean, just the people in Germany really love basketball. I mean, a lot of countries love basketball, but in Germany, at that time, I mean, every game was sold out. Like our team, I think the year before I got there, they weren't great. They were kind of between getting relegated every year and making it in or out. But if you just came to the game, looked at the fans, you would not know that. So that fan support was great. They treated my family great when my family came to town. My dad passed away my second year there. I already had like big posters saying "Stay strong, Dino." And they didn't have to do that type of stuff. And like it was just super supportive. People could hardly speak English to me and would like tell me sorry for your loss, and like it was just super supportive, which was great. I always loved that place the rest of my life. And if I go back right now, I still would get love there. And it's just an amazing place to be in.
And that's actually one of the things that was exactly what I was alluding to is the banner that I think that was kind of a profound impact on me as I was going through your Instagram feed and going over your career. We have merch. Head over to the Expat Hoop store where you'll find t-shirts, hoodies, masks, coffee mugs, pint glasses, and more.
It's one of many ways you can show support for the podcast, so head over there and pick up some merch. That link below is in the video description, or you can head over to our website, expathoops.com, and click merch. We offer a couple of different Expat Hoops logos, and we have men's, women's, and kids sizes, so you can get something for everyone.
Thanks to SeatGeek for sponsoring Expat Hoops. We recently became a brand ambassador for them. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They offer a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to know if you're getting a good or a bad deal. Green means good, red means bad. You get the idea. It's a really easy way to get tickets to events. Plus, our viewers get $20 off their first ticket purchase with the Expat Hoops code. Click the link in the description to download the app. Remember the code Expat Hoops, EXPATHOOPS, all one word, to save yourself $20 off your first ticket purchase with SeatGeek.
In our house, when we use a VPN, we are sure to use NordVPN. NordVPN secures up to 6 devices and is compatible with Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, iOS, and even your Wi-Fi router. Plus, it's no risk to your wallet. Head over to the website for pricing or contact customer support 24/7. And remember, your purchase is always safe with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Click the link in the video description to use our code and make sure you're secure with NordVPN.
You were there for 2 seasons, 2012 and into the 2013 season, as well as 2013 and 2014, as we talked about off the pod. That was a 1-year deal that wound up getting extended. The next season, though, after that, 2014 to 2015, you start off in Poland, and then you wind up going back. If you could kind of take us through what that season was like, including kind of a little bit more on the front end in terms of what was going on in Poland and what your experience was like playing there.
Right. So my first year in Germany, I signed back with the team. They wanted me to sign a 2-year deal. I wanted to do a 1-year deal. They weren't going to go. I wanted to play a Euro Cup or Euro League one day, and the direction they were going, they were never going to do that, no matter how well we did in the league because of money issues. So I signed a 1-year deal my second year there. And then my third year, I got out of there. I wanted to go somewhere else, and I went to Poland. Team called Stretching, newer club in the first league of Poland. They had a new coach for the first time. I didn't learn until I got out there. The coach's first time coaching men. He'd been coaching women all his life. Had no idea it's his first time coaching men, and that was a show right there.
Actually, if you could kind of take us through exactly what the difference would be there, other than the obvious, but
yeah, for sure. Just the way he would talk to us and let guys kind of run over him. It can like kind of say anything to him, do anything. Like just like. It was a mess. Like he wasn't a coach. He was just kind of just there. Like you can sub yourself in. Scott can sub himself. It was a show. And then the owner was like a good guy, but he didn't really know much about basketball. He's more like a Mark Cuban, like always around on the bench, telling who to put in, who to take out. Just like it was a mess. It just wasn't for me. We had a decent team, I want to say, but with the coach situation. My playing time was fluctuating. I know during that time period, my old team in Germany was calling me up and saying, no, we always can use you back if you want to come back. I remember speaking to my agent about maybe breaking his contract and going back if things don't get well by December. And things weren't going well, so we talked to the club, and they let me out my contract. Well, we had to get a buyout for my contract. My German team got a buyout for the contract, and I signed with the German team, back with my old German team, and it worked out. But yeah, Poland was great country, good time, which is just different. Just the whole situation with the club being new to the league and new the brand new. I think the coach got fired once I left. It was like 2 more coaches. You know, they had guys coming in and out, Polish guys and American guys coming in and out the rest of the season. Just kind of a mess. And I'm glad I got out of there when I got out of there, because it just kept getting worse and worse. And I got back to Germany, had a pretty decent year, and it went on from there.
So the following year, you end up in Hungary to play some of your time there. People that have been on this pod have had pretty good things to say about the Hungarian league in general, playing there and whatnot. Tell us about your experience there after spending a lot of your previous seasons in Germany.
It was great. You know, obviously Eastern Europe is so much different than Western Europe, and I've been on kind of a really, really Western place my whole career. It's kind of funny how I ended up in Hungary in the first place. Talk about connection. So the coach in Hungary was a Serb. He's half Serbian, half Hungarian. There's a coach in Germany who they were friends with, close friends with. They're trying to recruit me to come to that team every year. I was in Germany, but I never signed with them. I didn't like that team. And they told this coach about me and said, you know, if you really want a guy who's super athletic, can play the 5-4. You should look at this guy, Dino Gregory, in Hagen, Germany. And so that's how that coach found me and to contact my agent by me signing with that Euro Cup team. So it was my first year to be able to have a chance to play Euro Cup, which was a great experience. Playing in 2 different leagues. You're not playing once a week. You're playing on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You're traveling the world a lot, which was amazing. And we were the top team in Hungary. So when we lost games, it was bad. Like it was my first time being in a position where, like, since high school, that like we were supposed to win the league no matter what. It wasn't like, no, if the game was close, it's not. I remember my first coach got fired, I want to say 5 or 6 games in, and we were undefeated. And like it was crazy. Like it's a different expectation now. They're still decent now. They're not as good as they once were, but they were winning championships every single year, just running in and out, being the biggest budget in the league. I was making really good money out there with that team, and I think we had 4 Hungarian national team players on my team. So we were supposed to win a league every year. So that was fun. We won a league that year. We went the furthest in league team history in Euro Cup. We went to the second stage, which is really cool. We played against a couple Italian teams, a couple Turkish teams, 1 Italian team, and 2 Russian teams, which was fun. And I just got to see the world, got to see different competition, different players, and Hungary was just great in general.
You mentioned seeing the world. I know that you spent a lot of time in Germany prior to coming to Hungary. Was there any bit of a culture shock that you had when you went to Hungary compared to other places you've been?
It was different because the places I've been to previously, besides Poland, I was only there for 4 months or so, maybe 5 months. Not 100%
Yeah, you didn't
sure,
really have
but
much time to settle in there.
yeah, exactly. So besides Poland, Germany, and in Sweden, pretty much everybody spoke English. It was like everywhere I went, I didn't really have any problems with speaking English. I go to the grocery store, I can find stuff I need to find. It wasn't that big of a transition as well. But I felt like in Hungary, it was more of a rarity to find people who spoke English. If they were young, they spoke English for the most part. But for the most part, places I was going, they really speak English that well. So that was kind of a culture shock. The town I lived in was kind of small, on the smaller end, and there's really not much to do outside of playing basketball. So that was way different. But we were pretty close to Budapest, probably like hour and 15 minutes away from Budapest at the time. So we would go there often and hang out down there. But as culture shock comes along, I would say the language barrier was a lot bigger when I was in Eastern Europe versus where I was in Western Europe. Everybody spoke English, and they wanted to speak English as well. So in Hungary, if they didn't speak English, they didn't want to try to speak English. And I get that. I mean, you know, I'm in another country. I should be speaking Hungarian. So, but it was different in that regard. Sure.
Hungarian is one of the harder languages to pick up as well. So it kind of goes both ways in that regard. Hungarian is a very difficult language to speak.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, it was definitely different for sure.
Well, and actually, so with that culture shock, I mean, you're now a few years in. You've been to some other countries, and you've presumably gotten over the idea of being away from family, and so you've got you're professional multiple years at this point. I'm sure probably at this point in your career, even though it's a little bit more of a culture shock than what you're used to, that it was actually probably something that you kind of, maybe for lack of a better term, eased into, and you're a little bit better equipped to deal with it, right?
For sure. Oh, for sure. No doubt. I mean, if I was there my first year out, it would have been. I don't know how I would handle that. I don't know if I could have did that. But being, I think my fourth year, third year, I'm not sure what year, fourth year out, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, I can figure it out. This was my first time away from home. Only thing that was way different was the traveling because I was playing Euro Cup that year, so we did a lot more traveling, which was great though. It was fantastic playing against going different countries and playing more often, having training camp in Croatia, and just like we did different things that I haven't done previously. But I mean, the basketball piece of it was the same as everywhere else I've been to. The traveling piece of it was a little bit different, but like you said before, it's my fourth year out at the time, and it wasn't like I was homesick or it was just a normal thing. Just a new country, a new team. Let's go out there and get it done, and that's pretty much it.
Well, theme of an overseas career by and large, other than your large stint in Germany, new team, new country. Your last season, 2016, 2017 in Romania. Take us through what your experience was like there and how your season went there.
Romania, that's when I said, you know what, I'm done with this. Romania was, that's when I said, no, but I had a great career right now. I'm done with this. But yeah, Romania was different. That was probably the most difficult time I had in the country. Usually I think they got to a point in my career at that point where I was like, you know what, this basketball thing is fun, but now it's really feeling like a job. And I'm just like, I'm not into it anymore. Our facilities were great, but it was just a different feel in Romania. Just the fans coming there wasn't really a packed arena. My team wasn't great. It just wasn't how we played. Didn't really fit my style, and I hurt my knee. Like I think I want to say in January, and just wasn't it. And so I talked to my agent about me getting out of this contract and going home and rehab my knee and maybe making a comeback later on if my knee feels right. And so we ended up doing that. We ended up me breaking my contract, me coming home. Just that Romanian thing wasn't what I wanted to do. Now, when I got home, started the rehab process, like, you know what? I don't really want to go back to Europe. Like, I'm kind of done with that part of my life. I kind of move on and do something else in my life. But yeah, Romania was different. Great teammates, great time. But just like, you know what? This is not what I want to do anymore. So yeah, that's my farewell tour, if you will.
And so you left your playing career and you spent some time as in a fire department, correct?
Yeah, for sure. So I just got hired in the fire department last year. Actually, it's my first full year as a firefighter. Working in a place called Kirkland, it's like a suburb of Seattle. Probably I think it's 120 firefighters, a medium department size, but it's been great. I know when I got out of playing, I was trying to figure out what I want to do next in life. And I know I wanted something that it's more of like a team environment type of deal, or something that was impacting my community, something that's bigger than myself. And the fire department kind of checked all those boxes for me. And every day I live with 3-4 different guys on my crew for 2 days at a time. And then it's kind of like playing basketball, being a team all over again. You can kind of help each other out and hang out all the time and just go out there on calls, help people in the community, fight some fires, do some aid calls. And I'm really enjoying it so far.
Do you miss basketball at all?
I still play, but I don't miss the professional piece of it, like the pressure of the games and just like thinking about it all day. But I still play. Actually, play in this league out here. It's like a bunch of different athletic clubs, and on the West Coast, some in the Midwest. Like on my team is myself. It's Spencer Halls. It's Solomon Albee went to Florida State. We play against other clubs around the country, like different little tournaments. So I still get my fix in with that. But as far as like playing for money and that type of stuff, I don't miss that part. I don't miss like having to stay in shape constantly and do all that stuff. I don't really miss that. But just the basketball, maybe the games and the fans and stuff like that, I do miss that portion of it. But all in all, not really.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Expat Hoops. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications so you are alerted anytime we have new content. If you're listening on Spotify or your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to follow us there and head over to YouTube for Expat Extras that you can find exclusively on our channel. And Dino, we're going to ask you about those now. Are you ready?
Ready.
Hello, and thanks for watching. Be sure to give the video a like, and you can watch more videos over here. You can also click subscribe over here so you're notified when we have new content here on Expat Hoops.